Imagine finding out that the mysterious guy you've been sitting next to in high school biology class.
Always biology class.
Right, always biology. But imagine finding out he's meticulously researching how to use you as a human sacrifice.
I mean, in the real world, you call the police immediately.
Exactly. But in the world of late 2000s young adult literature, you go to the prom with him.
You do.
So welcome to this deep dive. Today we're looking at how an entire generation of readers basically fell in love with literal monsters.
It is such a phenomenal question. And to answer it for you, we really have to look back at an era of publishing that, fundamentally rewired how we think about romance, danger, and just raw teenage angst.
Oh, absolutely.
We are looking at a very specific microgeneration of literature here, one that was totally dominated by supernatural bad boys.
Specifically those brooding fallen angels and arrogant vampire royalty of the late 2000s.
Right. And we have a massive stack of sources to pull from today to help us make sense of this time capsule, really.
We do. We're digging into passionate author blogs, hypercritical high school newspaper reviews.
Those are the best.
Oh, they hold nothing back. Plus, we've got incredibly detailed TV tropes pages, book databases like Goodreads and Penguin Books, and, the foundational plot summaries of the era.
Because the mission here, our goal for this deep dive, is to figure out the psychological mechanics of why this formula works so well.
Right, and how these stories hold up when you look at them from a modern perspective. Plus, what this wave of literature actually taught its readers about relationships.
Yeah. And if you look at Tori Guyon's author blog from our stack, she really captures the atmospheric grip of this era perfectly.
She does.
She talks about authors and readers collectively chasing that iconic, blue-tinted, this is the skin of a killer Bella energy.
I can practically hear the alternative rock soundtrack playing in the background just thinking about it.
Right.
But to really understand how this obsession functioned, we need to look at the blueprint. I mean, the absolute poster child of the 2009 fallen angel craze.
You're talking about Becca Fitzpatrick's debut novel, Hush, Hush.
Exactly. Hush, Hush.
According to the plot summaries we have from Recaptains and Wikipedia, Fitzpatrick sets up the mundane teenage world perfectly before completely shattering.
Yeah, we follow 16-year-old Nora Gray. She's living in this cold, foggy town in Maine.
And she's cautious, diligent, and, carrying the trauma of her father's unsolved murder from a year prior.
Right, so her biggest stressor is supposedly just schoolwork.
Until the most dreaded of all high school events occurs.
The biology teacher rearranges the seating chart.
The absolute horror. So Nora is forced to sit next to the new student, Patch Cipriano.
And he's got the black hair, the black eyes. He's totally unbothered by authority, and yet he somehow knows intensely personal details about Nora's life.
Which brings us to the mythology that justifies his stalking, basically.
Right, because Patch's real name is Jev.
Yes,
Yeah.
He's a fallen angel who literally lost his wings centuries ago because he lusted after a human woman.
And the physical marker of this fall is this massive, permanent V-shaped scar on his back.
But the actual punishment, the real engine driving the entire plot of the book, is sensory deprivation.
Yeah, as a fallen angel, he cannot feel physical sensations at all. He only experiences emotions.
Which is such a wild concept.
It is. I was trying to wrap my head around this mechanic, and the closest modern equivalent I could think of is basically being trapped in a highly advanced VR simulation.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
But without any haptic feedback,
Yeah.
he can see the physical world, he can interact with it, he can talk to people, but he is completely numb to touch.
Right.
He is desperately seeking that ultimate, quote-unquote, real physical experience.
And that desperate need is what creates the life or death stakes. Fitzpatrick really pulls loosely from the Book of Enoch to build this lore.
Okay, so how does he get his senses back?
Well, Patch can become fully human and regain his physical senses. But the cost is immense. He has to sacrifice his Nephilim vassal.
Okay, wait, let's pause there for a second, because we need to define some terms for anyone who wasn't deep in angel lore back in 2009.
Fair enough.
What exactly is a Nephilim vassal in this universe?
So, in this specific lore, a Nephilim is the offspring of a fallen angel and a human. They are immortal, but they don't have angel powers.
Okay, got it.
And a fallen angel can swear a blood oath to a Nephilim, which essentially makes the Nephilim their master or vassal.
Right, and Patch's vassal is this guy named Chauncey Longday, who goes by Jules.
Exactly. And because of this oath, during the Hebrew month of Cheshvan, which in this lore is the only time fallen angels can possess bodies, Patch is supposed to be able to possess jewels.
But Patch doesn't want to just possess a body for a month. He wants out of this deal entirely. He wants a human body of his own, permanently. Wait, hold on. So to get that human body, he has to sacrifice Jules, right?
It's the rule.
But the twist is that Patch can't just kill Jules directly. He has to kill Nora because Nora is Jules' descendant.
That is exactly the premise.
Am I understanding this correctly? Patch's original intent, like his entire reason for sitting next to Nora, flirting with her, and inserting himself into her life, is to literally murder her.
Yes, his primary objective is homicide.
How on earth does an author make a reader root for a romantic lead whose goal is to kill the protagonist?
Well, it's really about amplifying the teenage experience to a supernatural degree. In an interview, Fitzpatrick mentioned she based Patch on a cool, quiet, mysterious boy she remembered from her own high school.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So from a psychological standpoint, authors of this genre take a very mundane adolescent feeling, that intense intrigue of being drawn to someone you don't fully understand, and they just turn the volume all the way up.
So the normal social stakes of, does he like me, get replaced with the literal life or death stakes of, will I survive him?
Exactly.
But I mean, if you're listening to this today, your alarm bells are probably deafening right now.
Oh, for sure.
You're likely wondering how this dynamic was viewed as romantic and not just terrifying. And honestly, analyzing the actual mechanics of their relationship reveals an incredibly dark side to the whole bad boy trope.
And the primary sources we pulled highlight how polarizing this was, even at the time. Especially when viewed from slightly outside the obsessive core fandom.
Oh, yeah. We have this fascinating primary source. It's a scathing review written by a high school student named Drew Hunsaker, and it was published in the Bellbrook High School newspaper, the Eagleview News.
She is brilliant. She holds absolutely nothing back.
Nothing. She rips into what she calls the trite, obligatory YA romance dance, pointing out that Patch and Nora basically ebb and flow like the tide for literally 300 pages of a 350-page book before anything is resolved.
It's exhausting just reading about it. But Drew's review is an incredible sociological text, really, because she evaluates the psychological impact on her peers.
She does. She zeroes right in on the massive red flags.
She points out that Patch's behavior isn't just brooding, it's textbook stalking.
Yeah, and Nora's internal monologue is constantly screaming at her to stay away, but she actively overrides her own survival instincts.
Drew feels so strongly about the danger of this message that she actually embeds a public service announcement in her book review.
I love this part.
She literally writes, "If a boy starts creaky stalking you, he is not in love with you. Call the police."
That is incredibly sound advice from a high schooler.
Very grounded.
But it brings up the core conflict of the genre, right? We have these books essentially framing massive red flags as romantic gestures. Are they basically teaching teenagers that this behavior is just confetti for a surprise romance party?
It's a great question. And it functions sort of like an emotional escape room for the reader.
How do you mean?
Well, the reader is participating in the illusion of danger. They want the thrill of a predator, but they are relying on the unwritten contract that the author won't actually let the protagonist get hurt in the end.
Oh, I see. So it's safe danger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The appeal isn't about modeling healthy communication. The appeal is the fantasy of fixing the unfixable.
Wow, yeah.
That codependency that Drew Hunsaker calls out in her school paper. In this specific subgenre, that is a structural feature, not a bug.
Right.
The fantasy being sold to the reader is that you are the exception. You are the one person whose love is so powerful it can reach into a monster and pull out his humanity.
But purchasing that fantasy seems to come at a steep cost to the main character's actual personality.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, Drew criticizes Nora as being completely flat and lacking any real self-preservation. And diving into the publishing history, I found this detail staggering.
Rewrite.
Yeah. Early drafts of Hush actually had Nora written as a much more arrogant, strong-willed character. But Fitzpatrick felt she was too similar to Patch, so she deliberately rewrote Nora to be more of a passive, every girl.
And that publisher-driven rewrite reveals the mechanical engine of self-insertion in YA literature.
Which is?
Well, if you make the protagonist too distinctly arrogant or too uniquely capable, she becomes an individual character the reader is just observing from the outside.
Oh, that makes sense.
But if you flatten her out into an every girl blank slate, the reader can project themselves entirely into the role. They get to be the one saving Patch.
Even though the blank slate makes for just terrible decision-making.
It really does.
I mean, the review from Love Vampires, which, by the way, is a website dedicated entirely to supporting this genre, They even point out how difficult it is to sympathize with Nora's bizarre decisions.
Yeah, she is introduced as horribly cautious, so when she suddenly ignores her school psychologist, Miss Green, who literally warns her to stay away from Pax.
It's baffling.
Though, to be fair to Nora, Miss Green actually turns out to be Debria, an angel of death and Patch's jealous ex-girlfriend.
Right. Naturally, because the high school guidance counselor is always an immortal assassin.
Always.
But this sets up a perfect contrast. If the publishing industry knew this straight-laced, codependent formula sold millions, what happens when an author intentionally weaponizes those exact tropes against themselves?
That is where things get really fun.
Yeah, and for that, we move from fallen angels to vampires, looking at Beth Fantaskey's 2009 debut, Jessica's Guide to Dating on the Dark Side.
The setup here is a brilliant tonal shift.
Completely.
Our protagonist is Jessica Packwood, though her birth name is Antonasia Dragomir.
Amazing name.
Right. And she is a practical, math-loving farm girl raised in Pennsylvania by intensely vegan, hippie parents.
The complete opposite of a dark, moody setting.
Exactly. She has zero interest in the supernatural. Until Lucius Vladescu, a brooding, arrogant vampire royal, arrives at her farm to claim her as his betrothed to settle an ancient vampire clan feud.
And looking at the TV tropes analysis for this book, you can see the narrative mechanics working in total opposition to Hush Hush.
Oh, definitely.
Unlike Nora, who ignores all her survival instincts to be near the danger, Jessica actively hates Lucius's bad boy quality.
She finds him insufferable.
Yes. The trope they call all girls want bad boys is intentionally flipped. Jessica is completely immune to his brooding. She only starts to tolerate him when he drops the alpha male act and shows genuine vulnerability and kindness.
And Fantaskey achieves this subversion through a mechanic, TV. Tropes categorizes as meat versus veggies.
I love this trope name.
It sounds like a joke, but it's actually a crucial tool for shifting the power dynamic. Lucius is an immortal, blood-drinking aristocrat accustomed to terrifying people.
Right.
But he is suddenly forced to live in a house where the Packwoods serve him lentil-heavy, entirely vegan meals.
It completely strips him of his terrifying mystique.
It really does.
It's like taking an apex predator and putting it in a suburban petting zoo just to watch it cope. You can't be an intimidating creature of the night when you're sulking over a bowl of tofu.
Precisely. By injecting that mundane humor, the author strips the vampire of his traditional power.
And in doing so, Jessica retains total agency.
Yes. In structural terms, she acts as his morality chain. Instead of the supernatural bad boy dragging the passive human girl into darkness, the human girl forces the monster to rise to her standard of decency.
I compared it earlier to a self-aware horror movie, like Scream.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, it knows all the rules of its genre and intentionally breaks them just to keep the audience on their toes. And this structural shift bleeds into how the female characters treat each other too, right?
It does. TV Tropes highlights the fat and proud trope in Jessica's Guide.
Yeah, talk about that.
Well, Lucius actually praises Jessica's natural curves and helps her feel confident in her own skin.
Contrast that sharply with Hush Hush, where there's a human mean girl character named Marcy Miller.
Oh, right.
She exists almost entirely to ruthlessly mock Nora's best friend V for her weight. Jessica's Guide seems engineered to build women up, whereas the traditional trope often tears other women down to elevate the central romance.
And the ultimate proof of this subversion is the climax of Fantaskey's book.
This part is so good.
Lucius reaches a point of intense psychological self-loathing. He begins to believe he truly is a monster, too dangerous to be around Jessica, much like how he viewed his aggressive horse, Hell's Bell, who actually had to be put down.
Oh, the angst.
So much angst. Lucius decides to end it all, essentially attempting suicide by letting an angry high school classmate named Jake stake him.
A high school wrestler named Jake. Which, by the way, gives Lucius one of the best lines in the book when he insults him by saying, "How Greco-Roman of you, grappling about on mats."
The dialogue is very self-aware. But it's Jessica's reaction to the staking attempt that completely breaks the standard YA mold.
Because in a traditional book, she would throw herself over his body and weep. Right.
Exactly, offering herself as a passive sacrifice.
But she doesn't do that.
No, instead she glares down her entire graduating class, utterly shames the mob mentality of the high schoolers, and then dares Lucius to stake her to prove he isn't the uncontrollable monster he thinks he is.
Wait, she literally calls his bluff.
She does. And he can't do it. By failing to harm her, he proves her point that he has a soul and control over his nature. She actively saves him through battle of intellect and will.
That is fantastic. So we have these two incredibly distinct approaches from the exact same year.
Very different vibes.
Right. We have the raw, traumatic, borderline toxic tension of Hush, Hush, and we have the clever, self-aware deconstruction in Jessica's Guide.
But both of these books sparked massive, deeply entrenched fandoms.
Which brings us to the legacy of this era and what I like to call the Hollywood graveyard.
Oh, the graveyard. The divide between the literary longevity of these tropes and the cinematic failure to adapt them is just stark.
It really is. I mean, if you pull the data from book databases like Pango Books and Goodreads, the backlists for these series are incredibly active.
People are still buying them.
Constantly. Hush. Hush spawned 3 direct sequels, Crescendo, Silence, and Finale, and readers are still hunting down rare collector's editions.
And Jessica's Guide had its own sequel, Jessica Rules the Dark Side, along with spin-off stories.
And we know the appetite for the core tropes hasn't faded. I mean, look at Tori Guyen's author blog from our SVAC.
Yeah, she proves readers are still hungry. She lists 13 different Fallen Angel books published just within the last 6 years.
13.
The publishing industry has hard data showing that this audience is fiercely loyal and constantly hungry for the next iteration of the brooding supernatural romance.
But then you look at the film industry, and it is a completely different reality.
It's a mess.
The development hell of the Hush Hush movie adaptation is legendary.
Let's hear the timeline.
Okay, looking at Wikipedia and Movie Insider, it was first optioned back in 2012 by LD Entertainment.
Yep.
They dropped it in 2014. Then it was suddenly revived in 2018. They even went so far as to cast actors. Liana Liberato and Wolfgang Novogratz were set for the lead roles.
And then?
Radio silence. It vanished again until 2021 when it was supposedly greenlit again by Spring Hill Company.
And let me guess, nothing since.
Not a single update since.
It perfectly illustrates how difficult it is to capture the very specific internalized magic of YA paranormal romance on a visual medium. Hollywood just constantly struggles with it.
I am actually going to push back on the idea that they should even keep trying.
Oh.
Yeah, like, do these books actually need movie adaptations?
That's a fair point.
If you think about the mechanics we just discussed, you have intensely long, angst-ridden internal monologues. You have bizarre mind control illusions. Like, remember Jules making Nora hallucinate that she's falling from the gym rafters?
I do. That would look so weird on screen.
Exactly. And you have these 300-page romance dances where the primary action is 2 teenagers just staring at each other across a biology lab bench.
Very true.
I would argue that psychological tension works brilliantly in the theater of the mind, but it feels inherently absurd when you force real human actors to say these lines out loud on a cinema screen.
I totally agree. There's a very valid critique of the medium, and it connects perfectly to a piece of advice Torgian offers to upcoming authors on her blog.
What does she say?
She warns them that social media algorithms and Hollywood trends are completely unpredictable and fickle.
Oh, for sure.
The film industry is entirely driven by trying to game the broader cultural algorithm to create, a 4-quadrant blockbuster. But publishing operates differently.
Because it's more niche.
Right. Core readerships don't need a $100 million movie to validate their love for the lore of Nephilim vassals or the month of Cheshvan. They just need the next book in the series that hits their specific emotional comfort zone.
That makes total sense. They are completely different ecosystems catering to different needs.
Exactly.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We journeyed from the thrilling, yet highly scrutinized, angelic heights of Hush. Hush, where the red flags were flying at full mast and the protagonist was flattened to let us slip into her shoes, all the way to the clever, trope-twisting vampire courts of Jessica's Guide, where the monster loses his edge the second he's forced to eat a bowl of lentils.
It serves as a great reminder of the dual nature of how we consume stories. We are entirely capable of enjoying the raw, unpolished thrill of a dramatic trope while simultaneously appreciating a clever, intellectual deconstruction of that very same trope.
Absolutely. So, for you listening, I want you to reflect on your own reading habits and comfort genres.
Think about what you reach for.
Yeah, when you need to escape the real world, what do you pick up? Do you prefer the straight-laced drama of a toxic, high-stakes romance where the hero might just sacrifice you to get his wings back?
Or do you lean toward a self-aware subversion that winks at the audience while dismantling those very tropes?
There is no wrong answer, but your preference says a lot about what kind of emotional release you're looking for.
And looking at the evolution of these preferences leads to a fascinating, broader realization about our culture, actually.
Oh, How so?
Well, think about it. In 2009, these massive hits featured supernatural beings, fallen angels, vampires, immortals who were absolutely desperate to become human.
That's true.
They wanted to assimilate into mundane human high schools, sit in biology class, and just experience our ordinary reality.
Yeah.
But if you look at the publishing industry today, it is dominated by romantasy, a genre blending romance and high fantasy, and the dynamic has completely flipped.
Wait, you're right. Today's books feature human protagonists who are desperate to escape from the real world.
Exactly.
They want to be whisked away to magical, incredibly dangerous supernatural realms.
Precisely. It leaves us with an incredibly profound question to mull over. What does that shift from monsters wanting to join our mundane reality 15 years ago to humans now begging to escape into a magical one part? What does that say about how our relationship with the real world has changed?
Oh, wow, that is a lot to chew on.
It really is.
So as you head back out into the mundane world where, biology tests are just biology tests, and the person sitting next to you isn't secretly plotting a blood sacrifice,
Yeah,
keep that question in mind.
good advice.
Thank you so much for exploring this time capsule with us. We will catch you on the next deep dive.